and welcome to another edition of Ambient Talkie, a show where we dive into some weird and wacky equipment and wonderful, call it whatever you want, music. I'm Andy from Two Round Robins, and I hope you're ready for a look into this vintage sampler. So when I first started experimenting with more lo-fi sounds and sound design based around lower fidelity, I started with rather cheap gear. Before I got my OP1, I was mostly experimenting with dictaphones, tape players, or anything that I had laying around. Also, this may seem kinda unrelated, but being quite a big fan of Sigur Ros, I was interested in how they always managed to get such lovely textures out of their tracks. And one of the secrets to their sound was a Yamaha VSS-30, which is a small 8-bit sampler from 1987. So I started hunting for one and didn't find any that would be in a considerable price range. But what I found was its big brother, the VSS-200 here. While the VSS-30 is far more sought after, probably because of Sigur Ros, the VSS-200 is not far behind. Once I did some digging around, I found out that the sampling section is pretty much the same, apart from the vibrato, which is exclusive to VSS-30. This being the added juice to the Sigur Ros voice samples. So I haven't had the pleasure of trying out the VSS-30 and not even the legendary Casio SK1. However, hopefully by us revisiting this toy synth, we can get a bit more understanding in what lovely lo-fi crunchiness we can get out of this particular box. So this synth has some rather cheesy onboard sounds that you can try. Some of them sound extremely bad, but charming nonetheless. And some that are a bit more interesting. You can even have some accompaniment. So a note here is that there's quite a lot of ground hump, which you can fix by using a ground loop isolator or simply fix it in post. When it comes to the internal sounds, some can be usable, while most are your run-of-the-muck toy synth emulation sounds. However, one big thing that VSS-200 has that I think VSS-30 does not is the ability to sample the internal synths. So for example, if we go to our raindrop sound, which was 68, as I remember, and press from voice bang, the synth will automatically sample this sound. So you can quite easily hear how more lo-fi it gets apart. So this side is particularly resampled, while this one is the original sound. So you get a bit more lo-fi. So now that we sampled the internal sounds, we can move our focus to this section here. And basically we have your attack, your decay, your release, the loop points, which I think by moving the loop point to lower values here, they become shorter while moving them to more upper values, they become longer. Then you have the U-turn, which basically plays the sound from the beginning and then reverses it. You can also just have a reverse. But I like to keep it on U-turn. Then you have the echo, which just sucks. There's hardly any noticeable audio things, audio difference when you have echo on and off. But then you have the fuzz, which I really like. And this adds the crunchiness to the synth. Then if you want to get wacky, you can have frequency modulation. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And then if you don't have a vibrato, which VSS-30 has, you can try to emulate that with the amplitude modulation. And of course you can change the level and the pitch of the original sound, which we won't do now. So yeah, this is basically, you can try any of these sounds and you can resample them, which I quite enjoy, especially if we have, let's say, some more out there sounds. And then let's say, for example, we can try quickly on this one. I always like to keep a bit more release. Oh man, this just sounds bad. But if you want to make some glitchy art, this may come quite handy. So yeah. All right. But the thing is, because we really enjoyed the Sigur Ros thing, we may ask ourselves, can we emulate that thing on this little machine? Well, we can try. So this is the onboard microphone. It's rather small and it's, to be honest, not that great. It's simply not good. But, it does get your voice or any other voice into the sampler. So if this is what we have, this is what we're gonna work with. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to sing like a whale or a Yonsei into this microphone. So, all the embarrassment included. And we'll try to make it sound good. That's my washing machine. Okay, here we go. So we have my voice here, and let's say the trick here is to make it as drony as possible. So long attack, long release, long. Long decay. Okay, and then we'll make a loop point. Let's try it with a U-turn. Let's add a bit of echo just to see. Okay, there's a slight difference there. Let's do it like this. And as you can see, the VSS-200, you can only play like I think 4 tones simultaneously. So add a bit of reverb to this. And we can have some lovely Icelandic lo-fi. So the AM here is making it sound like a if I add this, it's gonna sound like a mosquito. But you can create quite amazing textures with this, especially if you add a bit of reverb to the whole process. So yeah, I think you can quite easily create something inspired by Sigur Ros using this particular toy synth as opposed to the VSS-30. So at the same time, one cool thing is that we can also sample external sounds, not from the microphone, but from the inputs. So let's try to do that now. So what I have here is I have my norms connected to the VSS inputs, so the sample inputs, which is a RCA connection, and I'm driving it through the headphone amplifier of the norms. So what we're gonna try to do is we're gonna try to sample some of norm stuff. Now, what I found out was that, you know, VSS-200 really takes the cake more into the transient sounds because it just crunches it a bit better than the drony, longish sounds. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use Ambilex raindrops, and I'm just gonna take a look here. The clock, I see the problem here. We have like, there we go. Let's make it 60 and let's start it over. And now we have our raindrops that are playing. Now, one particular thing that you can hear here, or you don't hear, is basically that you cannot hear what you're sampling. You can only hear it once you start sampling. So this is what it sampled, this. It sampled this. So let's see what we can get out of this thing. So first things first, let's just make it a loop. And one thing that you're gonna notice here is that that it kind of starts glitching out, the VSS-200. And then, let me see, how much of this? Yeah, it just... And it's gonna stay there for some reason, but okay, let's just work with it. We have the attack, the release here. Let's make a U-turn as well. So you can hear that quite easily we can create this rather lovely rhythmic texture. And this is how you get Sigur Ros. So yeah. Oh, now we have the loop at that point. Let's try to make it really fast. And there's not a lot of difference. So yeah, there you go. Basically, not a lot of options here, but you can of course create something that can be used, and I like it quite a lot. So I revisited this one, which was my first ever lo-fi sampler. I kind of forgot about it because I haven't used it much since I got an OP1 and a Coco Quantus, and those devices kind of took it out of the ballpark. But looking back at it and rediscovering a very specific sampling quality that the VSS-200 has to offer, I'll definitely resample some stuff through it. And if you like some of these, of the more interesting sounds and textures, I made a little sample library that you can get by becoming a Patreon. So you just pay like $5 a month, and each month you get a little audio goodie, as I like to call them. You can also support me by buying my music off Bandcamp or simply subscribing to the channel. It really helps out a lot. But most importantly, and this is very important, have a great rest of your evening, morning, or afternoon, whenever you might be watching, and do take care. Ciao.